The instant Aginola stepped through the gate of whispers, the air around her changed. It was no longer cool and damp. Instead, a heavy warmth pressed against her skin, thick with the scent of palm wine, burning incense, and rain on dry earth. The world shimmered, and suddenly she stood not in the underground city but in a wide, sunlit clearing. Children laughed as they chased each other between mud brick houses, women pounded yam in great mortars, and men carved canoes beneath the shade of tall iroko trees. This was Iken Oja, her village, but it was different. The colors were brighter, the sounds sharper. She could see every bead of sweat on a drummer's brow, hear the slow sigh of the river beyond the houses. And then she saw her. A woman stood at the edge of the clearing, her head wrapped in a deep blue geli, her hands busy weaving palm fronds into a basket. The curve of her cheek, the arch of her brows, Aginola knew them by heart. Mother, the word escaped her lips before she could stop it. The woman looked up, her eyes lighting with joy. Aginola, my daughter. She dropped the basket and ran to her, arms outstretched. Aginola's heart ached with a longing so sharp it nearly broke her. She stepped forward, but a hand gripped her shoulder. The golden-eyed man stood beside her, though she had not seen him arrive. Remember, he said quietly, the gate shows you truths and lies. This is real, Aginola insisted. I can feel her. The man's gaze did not waver. If you embrace her, you may never leave this place. The gate will feed on your desire and keep you here until you are nothing but a whisper yourself. Her mother's voice was desperate now. Aginola, come to me. I have missed you so much. Aginola's feet moved without her thinking. Every part of her wanted to run into her mother's arms. But deep inside, she remembered the strange shifting of the carved archway, the way the bird-like figures had opened their beaks. The gate was alive. And like all living things in this city, it had a will. She stopped just a few paces away from her mother and whispered, if you are truly my mother, tell me what you said the day you left. The woman blinked. I said I would return soon. Aginola's breath caught, not in grief, but in certainty. No. You told me, do not fear the night, for the moon sees what the sun cannot. The woman's smile faltered. And in that moment, her skin rippled like water, her form collapsing into a shapeless shadow. It hissed, the sound sharp as broken glass, before dissolving into the air. The village vanished. She was back in the dim stone passage beyond the gate, her heart pounding. You have passed the first test, the golden-eyed man said. You chose truth over longing. Few can resist what the gate shows them. Aginola's legs trembled, but she lifted her chin. What's next? He did not answer right away. Instead, he led her down another path, this one narrower, the walls so close she could feel the cold stone brush her arms. Somewhere far ahead, she heard a sound like rushing water. They emerged into a wide chamber lit entirely by the glow of a massive underground river. The water shimmered in shades of green and blue, its surface so smooth it looked like glass. A stone bridge, narrow and without railings, stretched across to the other side. This is the gate of echoes, the man said. It does not speak with voices, it speaks with fear. Whatever you dread most will follow you here. Cross without faltering, and you will pass. But if you fall... He glanced at the river. For a moment, Aginola thought she saw faces in the water, pale and watching. She took a step onto the bridge. The moment her foot touched the stone, the sound of rushing water grew louder, then shifted. It became footsteps. Many footsteps, coming fast. She looked back. The shadows at the edge of the chamber moved, and from them emerged figures she knew all too well, men with hollow eyes and jagged spears, their bodies painted in the colors of a raiding clan that had once attacked her village when she was a child. The leader's voice was the same one that had shouted orders the night the fires came. They will catch you if you stop, the golden-eyed man said from the far side of the bridge. Run, if you must. But do not look into the river. Her breath came fast. She forced herself forward, each step steady despite the pounding in her ears. But the voices behind her grew louder. The bridge trembled under her feet. Halfway across, she heard another sound, soft, pleading. It came from the water below. Against her better judgment, she glanced down. Her father's face stared up at her from the glowing depths, his hands reaching toward her. His mouth formed the words, "Help me." Her chest tightened. The raider's footsteps were almost upon her. The bridge swayed. Aginola, the golden-eyed man's voice cut through the air. "Choose your path." She clenched her fist. The river was a lie, just like the woman beyond the first gate. She kept her eyes forward and ran. The moment she stepped onto the far side, the pounding footsteps stopped. She looked back, the bridge was empty. The river below was silent. The man gave a small nod. 2 gates passed. 1 remains. A deep rumble shook the chamber, dust falling from the stone above. Somewhere far in the distance, the mournful horn sounded again. "The last gate," he said quietly, "is the hardest. And we are running out of time." The golden-eyed man led Aginola into a tunnel that sloped sharply downward. The light from the glowing stones here was dimmer, flickering like fire about to die. The air grew colder, heavier, and somewhere ahead she could hear a slow, steady rhythm, thump, thump, thump. It was not drums. It was something far older, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. "The last gate lies where the city's breath is strongest," the man said without looking back. "It is called the Gate of Shadows. Few have stood before it and returned with their mind unbroken." Aginola swallowed hard. "What will it show me?" "It will not show you," he said. "It will become you." The tunnel opened into a circular chamber with walls so black they seemed to swallow the light. The floor was smooth, polished obsidian, and in the center stood a tall doorway carved from a single piece of deep red stone. Around it, faint markings glowed like embers. Aginola felt the hairs on her arms rise. The air here carried a weight, pressing down on her shoulders, making her breath come slow and shallow. "This gate," the golden-eyed man continued, "does not test your longing or your fear. It tests your truth, the truth you hide even from yourself. If you deny it, the shadows will take you. If you face it, you will pass." She stepped forward, her bare feet cool against the obsidian floor. As she neared the red stone doorway, the air shifted. And then she was no longer in the chamber. She stood in her father's workshop. The smell of fresh wood shavings and camwood oil filled the air. Her father sat at his carving bench, his one strong hands working a small figure of a bird. He looked younger, healthier, before the illness had stiffened his fingers. "Aginola," he said without looking up, "why do you carve?" The question caught her off guard. "Because someone has to keep the work alive. Because it's what you taught me." He set the carving down and finally met her gaze. "No. You carve because you think it is all you are good for." The word stung, though his voice was calm. The air shimmered, and suddenly she was standing in the marketplace. The traders laughed and called to each other, their stalls bright with wares. But no one looked at her. She called out, waved, but they passed her as if she were invisible. "You fear being forgotten," a voice said behind her. She turned and saw herself. Her double stepped forward, identical in every way except for her eyes, which were pitch black. "You walk through life pretending not to care, but you fear that when you are gone, no one will remember your name. That is why you cannot leave mysteries alone. You think finding the secrets of the city will give you a story worth remembering." Aginola's throat tightened. The shadow her was right and wrong. She shook her head. "I don't need the city to be remembered. I need it because it is part of who I am meant to be." The shadow smiled and crumbled into dust. The world around her dissolved. She was back in the obsidian chamber, standing before the red stone gate. The markings around it now glowed brighter, the air lighter. The golden-eyed man's voice was warm for the first time. You have faced yourself. The city will see you now. A deep hum filled the chamber, the same vibration Aginola had felt under the market square all her life. The doorway pulsed with light, and then, it opened. Beyond it lay a stairway descending into a soft, golden glow. But before they could step through, the mournful horn sounded again, closer this time, so close it seemed to come from inside the walls. The ground trembled. From the tunnel behind them, a black mist began to pour in, curling and twisting like living smoke. The golden-eyed man's face hardened. It has found us. What has? Aginola asked, stepping back. The thing that destroyed the city, he said. And it will not let you leave now that you belong here. The mist surged forward, and from its depths, shapes began to form, tall, skeletal figures with glowing red eyes and claws that scraped against the obsidian floor. The man grabbed her hand. Run! They plunged through the red stone gate, the stairwell spiraling downward. The hum in the air grew louder, the golden light ahead brighter. Behind them, the hiss of the mist was growing, the sound of claws on stone echoing closer and closer. As they burst into a vast underground garden filled with towering golden trees and a river of light flowing between them, Aginola realized something: they had not escaped the danger. They had only gone deeper.